departments, ensuring full academic, financial, and logistical support. We are also excited to announce that Ashoka University is offering an integrated master's and PhD program in biology, which will start next year, providing students a seamless transition from postgraduate study to advanced research. Ashoka also prioritizes student well being, offering access to clubs, societies, and sports that enrich our campus life. In today's session, our current PhD scholars will share their experiences discussing all of these aspects in more detail, from academic and research opportunities to student life beyond the lab. To our audience, please feel free to type in any questions that you might have in the chat box on your Zoom screens, and we will address them during the session and also towards the end. So, without further ado, let me introduce our speakers for today. Please join me in welcoming Harshita Rana, Kirnali Patel, Krishnapriya Vinod, Mohan Reddy, and Rahul Kumar. I would request each one of you to introduce yourself on your own. So, Harshita, if we could start with you, that'll be great.
Hi, I hope I'm audible. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I am Harshita Rana. I am a third year PhD student with Dr. Kritika Garg at Ashoka University. So we work in a biodiversity genomics group, and I am currently trying to understand the genomics of sexual selection, and my model system is the pheasants. Uh, that's it, I think, and rest we'll get to know throughout the session.
yeah. Thank you. Kirnali, if you could go next.
Hi everyone, I'm Kirnali. I'm a PhD student in Dr. Balaji's lab at Ashoka University, and I work on genomics of bats. I'm trying to understand the effects of climate change on bats through genomics, and I'm also trying to understand the evolutionary characteristics through specific genes that could be involved or associated with selection or adaptive evolution in bats. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirnali. Krishnapriya, you can go next.
Good evening, everyone. I am Krishnapriya Vinod. At Ashoka, I work in the human immunology lab. I am a fourth year student right now, and I'm mentored by Dr. Rama Sakonti. In the lab, we are basically interested in T cell biology. My project centers around the transcriptional regulation of T cells.
Thank you, Kirnali. Mohan, you can go next.
Yeah, hi all. This is Mohan from Dr. Rama's lab. So basically, my work is on T cell memory. I'm looking at the persistence of memory responses against SARS-CoV in vaccinated individuals. Thank you.
Rahul.
Yep. Hi everyone. Hope I'm audible. I'm Rahul Kumar. I'm a third year PhD as well, and I work with Professor Krishna Melnatur in Department of Biology, and I'm interested in studying how sleep circuits affect learning and memory. Particularly, the lab works around sleep by losing some of it ourselves. But I'm also interested in looking at how basically cognition is affected by sleep circuits and sleep plasticity.
Thank you so much, everyone, for introducing yourself. Let's begin our conversation for today. And I would begin by asking, why did you choose Ashoka for your PhD over other research institutions in India in the first place? So I think let's set the topic for the conversation, starting with that. Any one of you wants to go up first?
I guess so. I can start because if it's fine, like when I was applying, basically one of my criteria was to look at people, to be very honest, like who are working in neuroscience, trying to address questions which are interesting along the lines of adaptive behaviors, learning, and memory. And I think one of the things that brought me to Ashoka is that they have a good team of faculty here in every department, and also in biology. So Krishna started his lab in biology department, and that's where I contacted him and got to know a lot about how to apply and stuff. And then, yeah, so I think the fact that the kind of diversity we have in research, in biology department was one of the points that probably brought me to Ashoka.
Thank you, Rahul. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can go. I think my experience has also been quite similar to what Rahul had said. So there were a couple of topics I was interested in, and I was following a couple of people who were at Ashoka, like people who were doing evolutionary immunology, like Dr. Imrose, people who were doing human immunology, like Dr. Rama, and that actually inspired me to apply, and that was how I decided.
I mean, I can tell something interesting,
Sure.
more interesting actually. So yeah, like for me, it was very random choice. I mean, I was looking for institutions through TIFO scores, and on the NCBS website, Asuka's name would pop up in the first like 4 or 5 institutions because it starts with A, right? And so what I was doing actually was each and every institution I was going to their website and looking for whether PhD program was available or not, like was it open or not. And fortunately for me, Asuka's PhD program was open at that point of time when I was trying to apply. And that was that's how I applied to Asuka. And Unfortunately, I think it's a good place that I chose to stay and do my research. Yeah, that's how. I mean, if it is at all interesting, yeah. I mean,
That's a fun story to
I
hear.
would also
And
like to add
Yeah,
something. So, for me, even like one good opportunity that Ashoka gave me was I was not very sure of exactly what organism I want to work on. I come from a biodiversity background, and I had people around me who were so specific about this particular animal they want to study and everything. I, for that matter, was not as clear. I wanted to understand evolution in animals. I was clear about animals. So here at Ashoka, I actually got an opportunity to rotate in multiple labs before I could decide, before I wanted to choose what exactly do I want to work on. So that was one of the reasons that for people who are not as clear specifically about exactly what they want to address in their PhD, so Ashoka gave me a chance to explore between labs before choosing my final lab.
Thank you, Harshita.
okay.
Kirna,
I would also like to add, like, mine case was same as Harshita's. I was also randomly looking up for universities or institutions where I could do a PhD, and I was not specifically looking for any like I want to work on any particular organism or a species. I come from a zoology background and I was always interested in ecology evolution. So I was looking for labs who work with ecology, evolution, conservation, genomics, or something like that. And I did find a place in Ashoka, a lab that works on that, and I applied. Yeah.
I think one thing that we all, I don't know, maybe we all can agree to some extent is, for me, one of the reasons was also because at that time, I remember that I particularly was interviewing at other lot, like I was being interviewed at lot of other, not lot, but quite a few other places as well. But the kind of panel that I got during the interview, the kind of questions that were asked to me, based on my interest, and so it sometimes it tells difference between different institutions, what kind of environment, what are they expecting from you. So I was not asked about protein structure or protein names or particularly, something that should be on tip of my tongue. But I really enjoyed the whole process of from application till I got the offer letter. So that was also one thing that, you go back and tell your parents that, I think this place is really good because the interview went really well. They were not grilling on basis of facts, but they were like asking, they were engaging me into
Yeah,
problem
yeah,
solving kind of.
I also
I
agree.
like, I remember it. I remember it specifically because, other like one or two other places, not to name, were quite opposite to it. And I was like, no, no, no. I think I should go to this place and not to this place. And as a student, I think we all can understand.
Yeah, I agree. Even questions for my interview were very different than I was expecting based on my other interview experiences. They were more like I was given scenarios and how would I approach them. I really liked my interactive session during the interview. It felt more like we're discussing something, like we have a problem at hand and how would we go by it. So it was a very interesting experience.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
like just to answer this, there's one question that what type of questions were asked. Can you give an example? So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is like they were looking for whether you are capable of logical thinking, reasoning. Sometimes even I was not even answering. I was just being led to that answer by the panelists themselves, while still feeling that I did good at interviews. So that was first thing that I really liked, and I thought, okay, if there are, if this is the way it's starting, maybe I should continue at Ashoka, go and join. Yeah, it's also good to write to people you are interested in, like whose work you are interested in, write to the faculties, write to people in the lab, and get to know of things beforehand. That helps. Yeah.
Um, Now we can move to the next. And thank you for touching upon your application experience. And we will discuss all of this in detail towards the end about everything exactly. So let's move back a little. And also, you guys, some of you did mention about how did you come to choose your lab of choice at Ashoka and your research interest. But let's go back and why did you choose to pursue a PhD in biology altogether? Like, let's go back to your education background and what led you to actually choose biology for your PhD. Let's dive into that a little. And you can also let the audience know how did you choose your lab of choice? How did you come to that research questions? You can also um, go into detail about that as well. Mohan, can we start with you?
Sure, yeah. I mean, to answer the first question, why biology? Because I was good at it. I mean, simply, like, yeah,
Good answer.
because I was doing good. Yeah, I was doing good in biology, and I felt, yeah, that's something that I should pursue. And also because, like, if I can elaborate the answer, then I would say reading books other than academic. I mean, reading books which are non-fiction, biology books and all. I felt that kind of kept me interested in bio for a very long time, and that's how I pursued my bachelor's in geology, then master's in biotech, then eventually PhD in human immunology. And to answer your second question, sorry, Kavina, what was your second question?
I'm just asking about how did you choose your lab of choice
Choose
at
my
a
lab. Okay, choose my lab. So
question.
I was very much interested in translation, like biology mostly. Translation in a sense, something that I feel is very much in a very short period of time can be, I mean, extended to translational and all. So that's how, like, I had two labs in my, I mean, in my kitty. One of them was a lab on CRISPR-Cas9 system. They were working on how CRISPR-Cas9 can be regulated inside a host, like inside a system, right? And then the second one was human immunology. Then I felt, yeah, this is one of the labs. These are the two labs which I feel I would have joined, and eventually I joined one. I felt towards a little bit more towards human immunology because question was more interesting to me than the other one. So that's one. I mean, that's the only reason that I chose the lab that I am in right now. Yeah.
Before we move on, there's one question that are lab rotations available at Ashoka before the student's PI is finally appointed? And there are some other questions which I'm sure will be addressed during the webinar, but I think this is relevant to what we're discussing. So,
Yes,
uh,
lab rotations are available at Ashoka before.
before PI is
Yeah.
finally
In fact, they are
Yes,
encouraged. Like
they are encouraged. Yeah.
they are encouraged at Ashoka. Even if you come with, you come with a mindset of working with this person in this lab or on this topic. Still, it's good to go and look at other people's work, spend some time in other labs. That widens your horizon first thing, increases chances of collaboration if you feel. also sometimes we like something because we have been thinking about it for the longest time, but when we enter something, like we start learning, reading, doing something else, we realize that, okay, this is better than what I was thinking. So that option is always, available.
That's actually true. And while I was doing my rotations, it was something that I really enjoyed as well. So I was rotating in a fly lab. Then I also rotated in a very core molecular in a lab that was doing core molecular work. Then ended up in a human immunology lab. The techniques used were quite different in all three labs. So I actually got to know what is happening there. And later, I think it also helped me understand their work a little bit better, understanding the sort of landscape that they work in, the sort of, it was quite a good experience for me actually.
There's also one more question. I've done only a project during my dissertation and do not have any other research experience. Will I be able to pursue PhD even then, and or do PI want students with more research exposure? If anyone of you wants to take that up.
I was okay. So sorry, Rahul, to interrupt. I think
right.
I could answer that because I did come after my MSc and didn't had any research exposure as such, even remotely. Just like my thesis work, that's it. MSc thesis work. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter if you are not and do not have any research exposure. But if you are like curious about science, if you're curious about research, if you want to just be in research, then I think doing a PhD or PIs will be interested to get you into the lab. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I was saying the same thing, Mohan, that none of us are PI, so we don't know what do PI want. But I'm sure that we have seen people who are doing PhD now who are just exactly what the question is, like just did masters, have done a thesis, which is like short term 6 months or a 1 year exposure, and still they are doing PhD. So I think, and also riding on the last point of mine, that the kind of questions they ask during the interviews, my impression is that what they're looking for is, if you're ready to do it, like you have to start somewhere. They're not looking for someone who already knows how to do the job, but is willing to learn it along the way, have the curiosity, have the enthusiasm, right?
So true, I would agree because
Most of us were enthusiasts at
yeah,
the end.
Yeah.
because where even I had experience, but my experience doesn't count anything from towards what I'm doing right now. So I did what my dissertation was completely different thesis, and then again my research experience in between was different, and what I'm doing here is completely different. So I don't think if I would have come without that experience, this would have changed. I This is purely on what I want to do right now, which is encouraged a lot in Ashoka.
Okay. Thank you everyone for answering. And there are many questions in the Q&A box regarding to the structure of the PhD program. So I think we should dive into how your PhD program is structured at Ashoka once you entered, and how was your how has your experience been so far? You can talk about your PhD and all the technicalities that the PhD program offers at Ashoka, because I think there are a lot of questions regarding that. So we can start with that.
Okay, I can take the lead. Yeah. So like the after we get admitted into the PhD program, in the first semester we have to complete a set of courses, like 16 credit or some. I think we have to take 4 courses and a mandatory course. And then in the second semester, we move on to do 2 GA-ships, at least the teaching assistantship. And we are also supposed to do our lab rotations as soon as we join. So you can rotate in 2 or 3 labs of your interest for a couple of weeks, and then you can decide where do you want to join. And before the end of second year, we are supposed to register, which means we are supposed to qualify an oral exam. It's called the Oral Qualifying Exam, OQE, and wherein you are supposed to present your thesis proposal to your research committee and basically defend your thesis proposal. And after 1 year, you're again supposed to give an annual seminar and stuff. And the duration of PhD is like after you take admission, you have to complete your PhDs within 5 years. And after you register as a PhD, you have to like submit your thesis within 3 years. So that's the basic structure. Like
Thank you
if
for
anybody would like
Right.
to talk about their
I mean,
experiences of courses or TA shapes.
Yeah, so basically, like you can do all like different permutation combinations of courses that you need that you want. There, it's courses you can also take which are not just from the department, like exactly biology courses. But if you feel like you need to learn something regarding coding, computer science, physics, there are a lot of interdisciplinary courses as well, which is like physics of biology, computer science, modeling in biology, computational biology and stuff like that. So you can take that also if you feel that it will help you during your PhD to reach the required credits. And TA ships, yeah, just repeating what Krinali said, there are four, you need like four TA ships. You can do in theory for theory classes or lab classes. Two before you get registered are mandatory before the OQE exam. And the rest two you can do after, anytime between your registration is done and before you submit.
Thank you for explaining the program structure. And I think we should now also talk about how Ashoka supports PhD students in terms of resources, funding, and travel grants, because I see people asking questions regarding that as
Yeah,
well.
so there is one question which is like in lab rotation, we can check which lab will be good for our work, and then can we select the supervisor. So I think you rotate in lab. So this process is like it's from both ways. The supervisor also, you talk to PIs and talk to them about your interests. And if they are fine, you rotate in their lab. So it's like a matchmaking from both sides. You give your reviews and they give their reviews of you spending time. And then if you both are fine with it, then you get to join the lab. Yeah, because this is important because from both sides, I think you have to understand each other's. Because many a times multiple people would like to go to one lab. In that case, then sometimes the ball is not always in your part. It's it's also like how other people did in the lab. Yeah,
I
but
think
mostly everyone, like in our batch, everyone got what we wanted, right? So department takes care in some ways that you get the lab, either your first preference or your second preference,
I think one more
is what I
question is
feel, right?
in this line, Rahul. It's from
Yeah.
Manas, and is rotation allowed even in labs that are not recruiting, according to the PhD admissions page on the Ashoka website? I think, I think it's no. Like you won't be allowed to rotate in those labs unless and until you are not interested in any of the labs. So that's very situation specific. That can't be, I mean, commented right now.
It
Depends
could
on the,
be
yeah.
right. It could also be one factor that will anyways be asked, right? Because during our interviews also we were asked what potential labs we are interested in.
Hmm.
And then if you tell the panelists that I'm interested in a lab which is not recruiting, then of course there'll be a dialogue between you and them that see they're not recruiting. Is there any other lab you are interested in? So they also help you, navigate.
With that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can be taken care during the interview process, right?
Yeah. So it's like also remember that Ashoka gets to know you and you gets to know Ashoka a lot during the whole application process. So it's not like you just end up being here and then you figure out what to do. So a lot of things is already settled during this whole process of from filling the form to getting the offer letter.
Okay. There's also, since we're answering questions, there is one more about the fellowship, and I think we can now talk about the what I asked about the funding, fellowship, and travel grants. Does Ashoka provide fellowship for GATE qualified students? It's a technical question if someone wants to answer, and then we can also dive into the fellowship and travel grants and funding that Ashoka supports their PhD students. Yeah. Anyone wants to take that?
Yeah, I can take that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
so Ashoka has a policy of university fellowships. So if you are qualifying any of the national entrance exams, and then you are eligible for the interview process. I mean, you are eligible to apply to Ashoka. And if you're, I mean, let's say shortlisted and you're qualifying the interview, then you will be provided fellowship irrespective of your, irrespective whether you have a fellowship of your own or not. So that's the university fellowship. And if you have a fellowship, then also Ashoka will provide the fellowship that it has, and it will take the fellowship that you are getting from that other, I mean, institutes or other body. So that's how I think is the process right now.
So I think what Mohan is trying
We
to
would
get to the
also, sorry,
like
yeah.
Ashoka's fellowship is higher than the national
Yeah,
average,
yeah.
like any other fellowship. So what you're trying to say is even if you are on a, if you have your own fellowship, which is like lower than what Ashoka's fellowship is, you will still get Ashoka's fellowship.
Yes, and I
Yeah,
think I would also
everyone gets the same
add
amount.
that Ashoka ensures like some of these bodies where we get our fellowships from otherwise, so they're not usually always on time. So what Ashoka ensures is we get fellowships on time. It might not be the first of every month, but you get it on time. Like every month, by first week of every month, we get our fellowships. So by ensure like Ashoka ensures this irrespective of who is funding you.
Yeah.
Can one of you also explain the resources, the travel grants, and the funding that you get during your PhD program, and how it allows you to attend conferences and everything that you guys will be better answering? So yeah, we can touch upon that now as well. Krishna,
So
do
yeah,
you want to
KP, I think.
Okay, so I think I'll start off and you can add on, Rahul. So
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
happens that you are eligible to apply for a 2 lakh fellowship, which funds mostly international travel. So this can be taken all together or in parts right now. And all the PhD students who are admitted to PhD program at Ashoka, especially in biology, are eligible to apply for it. So regardless, you will be getting this. This is something that comes with the package. You like how you get your fellowship. This is also something that you're entitled to claim. So this happens after you have qualified your OQE. Once you have qualified your OQE, you are eligible to get this fellowship. If you have a conference that you need to attend or anything like that. And I also think there's also a field fellowship that people get. People who go on to work on fields, they're also eligible to apply for field fellowships. And Ashoka provides this as well. Rahul, do you want to add something?
Yeah. Mostly you're taking care of the points, but yeah, I was about to say the same thing that we get this to like it's called travel grant, but it can also it's very flexible. That's the best thing about it. And I myself used a part of it even before my OQE for my visit at Genelia, where it helped me, not for the travel itself, but for TADA there. So this is a good thing, and it helps a lot because it's very flexible. And you can mostly like for travels, we would like to travel and attend conferences and present work after we have cleared our OQE, right? Like you need to get some work done before you present it. So that's true in general. But I think the system is very supportive in that sense of using it flexibly, not just like to book tickets and travel. And no one has to apply for it. You just get it like you said. And apart from that, I think for the contingency that we get every year is 20,000 rupees for any other expenses anything that you want to buy and get reimbursed for, which will help you in your research. And on top of the extra 20,000, which is 20 plus 20, is for like field researchers, like who are visiting field, because their expenses will then accumulate more than those who are working in the lab. So, and I think Harshita and Kirnali will be better people to talk about that, if you need to apply for that or how does that work?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's an annual thing. So every year we get 20,000 for the contingency and 20,000 for the field contingency. And we don't get it firsthand, like we spend the money and then we reimburse it from
Right.
the research development office at Ashoka.
To
Yeah,
start
and for the bigger grant, it can also be like you will also get help. Like if you are not able to spend from your side first and get it reimbursed, you will get help, like spending it right from your grants money.
Harshita, you were
Yeah,
saying.
no, I was just saying that initially we had to give in our project proposal explaining why we would require the field contingency. So that goes to the head of the department and dean of research and assistant dean of research. So, and then after approval, we spend our money and then we get it reimbursed, which is 20,000 annually. And also we can use contingency for like all as an additional tool. Like we can use all that 40,000 for our field work as well.
Right. So 20,000, I guess, is no questions asked, right? It has to be approved by PI. It should be like
Yes.
you're spending it on something, of course,
Yes, yes.
by
You
no
can
question
use
asked.
it
I mean,
for, yeah, national
you're using it for
conferences.
research. Yeah, and also for national conferences and travel stuff. For the additional 20,000 that you're talking about, which is for field, is it like, is there something that what comes under that uh,
Um,
That
grant? Like
has to
what?
be strictly field work, I think,
It
Kinali.
includes a stay wherever you're staying, if you have the bills, and travel if you have travel bills. So yeah,
And if you're able to buy any of your field related things,
equipments, yeah.
yeah, like any equipment, minor, something, some small things that you can buy. So
Okay. Thank you everyone for explaining it beautifully. Now, I think we should dive into your application experience in Ashoka and how was it? Let's take you back 2, 3 years from now. And what was your experience during the application? What were your feelings? I think you can also advise the audience who are going to apply for this cycle. Just take us through your application experience and how was it like, and what were the things that you kept in mind while applying, which will be beneficial um, for this year's admission cycle. Harshita, since you're on my screen, let's begin with you.
So yeah, application process. For me, as I said, it was very different. I had a thesis on invertebrates. So I, like we all usually think that we have to propose something particularly you want to work on. You have to be specific. You can't sound all like I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do a PhD sort of thing. So I also had a project based on my thesis, which could be extended into a PhD. So I wrote my SOP around it. My whole application process was around it. But after like during the interview panel I was asked questions, but I had all given my interest as ecology and evolution. So based on that and based on the projects that are available at Ashoka, current projects, so based on where all of these things align, I was asked questions. And after I came here, I chose completely different based on my rotation experiences. So yeah, process, like as I said, you don't have to come with exactly what you want to do, and you but you can obviously check the labs that are offering positions in this round, go through their work, think of your, like where does your interest align. And you need not be like, you can come up with your own projects, and as Rahul had mentioned earlier, based on your rotations and everything, you can also come up with collaborations. Supervisors here are quite supportive of all these things. So like do not come with a very rigid mind, I would say.
Thank you, Harshita. Anyone else who wants to add to that?
Yeah, I guess regarding the application itself, when you are filling the application, I I think the form, I don't know how much the form has changed over time because I'm sure that every time something, but do spend some time writing things in because that's the first thing that comes to anyone like who wants to know about your interests. So spend some time. So start ahead of time filling up the form. Last minute, if you have everything ready, then it will help you. Also have some aligned thought process, look at the labs. I'm particularly saying for interviews, if you get selected for the interviews, then knowing at least something about the lab, the work, and how your interests align with those labs, which you're going to name, helps a lot during the, because you will be mostly the person, many times the person you are interested in may or may not be in the panel, but still you should know at least how to align your own interests with their work. Yeah, and if they're in the panel, of course, they're going to ask something or the other to just make sure that you're just not picking up a name, you also are interested in it. So I think, spend some time on application, and for interviews, don't. I don't know. It was my So I was thinking that you need to read a lot, remember a lot. So don't.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
read a
think.
lot for the interviews, but the questions we were asked were completely different
Yeah,
from what we imagined. Yeah.
yeah. Those were like, if you enjoy the process, I think if you are happy while during the interview, then it's all good. And I think someone was asking about the same things that regarding the interviews only.
Someone has asked if we must contact the supervisor before the interview. So I think you guys can
Yeah.
advise on.
I think the decision at Ashoka here is mostly not taken by one PI, any one
It is
PI.
a
If you write to one
panel-based
PI,
thing.
it's the
Yeah.
panel based. So, but even if you write beforehand that, see, I'm interested in working in your lab, is there a position open? The faculties are very, very supportive and responsive. Like I got responses for sure from Krishna, and he was like guiding me through the process that you can do this. But at the end, like you have to appear in front of a panel. So it's not like it's different from how some of the application works in Europe, where you just apply to PI and PI can directly take you into the lab as a PhD student. So here you have to go through a departmental interview process, if that's what you're asking. So yeah.
Yeah, I would also say that the SOP is quite important, and spend your own time with the SOP, because while I was doing my interviews, I did a lot of the questions came from already the things that I had written or mentioned as interests in my SOP. So there were a couple of topics or broad areas that I had mentioned that I have interest in. And questions that came for my interview were largely around those things. And there were also questions from the thesis that I had done. So I had done a biochem project before. So they asked me to explain it, tell why it's important. So all these sort of things. And actually, it actually gave me a little bit of confidence initially, because it's something you're very familiar with, something. And I would say you shouldn't falter there, because you've spent your time there and they're also interested in it. So that had been my experience while doing the application. Mainly, questions were centered around my interests, and actually a junction of my interests and the sort of people who were recruiting. So in that case, mine worked out a little favorably.
There's
I
one.
I also remember I writing to Krishna Priya. Krishna Priya is here. So before I got admitted into the program, I had so many queries. I had written to two or three people, and Krishna Priya was one of them, and she addressed my queries. So just highlighting that.
Same here. Same here. We both
Shapira is happy that she replied.
we
Yeah,
troubled
thank God.
her a lot before coming.
Our audience now reach out to you since they know you get
Yeah.
the
No, but
last.
I think we all have been getting these
Yeah.
LinkedIn messages and emails anyway. So I think, and also that's something which is good. You should write to people. If you find on the lab website there are contacts, and I think if there are contacts publicly available, it is so that you can contact these people, know a bit,
And
ask questions.
even after our admission, after our interviews and everything, we were also given contacts of of certain existing PhDs to interact with. That is how I got Krishna Priya's email address. So that's how I connected with her, contacted her. That this is after we are still asked to interact with other students, and she really helped. I bothered her a lot. I remember.
Yeah, it's art. And basically, what what I mean is you will get help.
Yeah.
Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who deserve it.
I think I saw a question about the lab environment. I think that this is precisely the reason that you write to people who are already in the lab. Nobody can actually tell you about a lab or the sort of environment that the lab is more than the for people who are actively working. So it does actually encourage that while you're in your process or once you've already been admitted, or if you're thinking of choosing a particular lab at Ashoka, it's always encouraged that you write to them. It's always good to get a clarity as to what sort of work are going on, and most people are quite responsible.
Okay, so we will take up more. There are already a few questions that are left to be answered. We'll go to them, but there are also questions regarding campus life, accommodation. So I think we should now talk about after now that you're in Ashoka for the past 2, 3 years and 4 years for Krishna Priya now, I think. After joining Ashoka, what are your thoughts on its campus life and how do you think that it has contributed to your journey so far? And also feel free to share any memorable experiences from your time at Ashoka so far, and also touch upon the accommodation because I see a lot of questions regarding that since people assume that we're in the middle of nowhere. So let's.
No, but along those lines, Kangana, I should say that I was saying this to a faculty a couple of days ago. There's never a boring day at Ashoka with
Yeah.
UGs around, especially me coming from doing my masters from a research institute. You come to Ashoka and you're like, this is what is called campus life, like lit campus life. So that's very vibrant. Yeah, like I'm sure that you can see some smiling faces already. One particularly, Mohan smiles very less, so but he's still smiling.
Question about the work-life balance and how do you address this thing in your university? So I think it's a perfect segue into our conversation now about campus life. And yeah, so let's get started on that till we wait for other technical questions.
Krishna Priya and Mohan and I just had Barfgula at campus yesterday. So Krishna Priya would talk about it better.
I think I'll start off with the very technical things, which also we get a lot of mails about. Where do you live? How do you travel? All those things, and then I'll.
Questions I bothered Krishna Priya with before coming. What all do we get? Will I have to bring a pan? Where do I stay? How will I travel to Delhi?
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah, the university is actually situated in the NCR region, so it's right at the border. It's right at the Delhi Haryana border. So from the airport, if you're taking a cab on a good day with no traffic and all, you'll reach here in about 40-50 minutes in a good day. So Ashoka has uh, a shuttle service which is free from campus to Jahangirpuri. Jahangirpuri is a metro station from where you can travel to mostly all the places in Delhi and nearby. Regarding accommodation, so all PhD students are right now given off-campus housing. So there are two different places at which people are housed right now. One is called Parker Residency, about 7, 8, 10 minutes from the campus, and there are shuttle services every 1 hour from the campus to here, and on peak hours every half an hour. Other than Parker, the other place is called TDI Glade Group, where most of the people are now housed, and I think you will also be housed over there once you are admitted into the program. So from there also there are shuttle services every other hour and more frequently during busy hours. So here the accommodation is like it's a proper flat. So it's a 3 BHK flat, and you each will be given one room. You'll be sharing with two other people, though you'll be sharing the whole flat with two other people. So it's a proper flat. So it has a living room, it has a kitchen, and kitchen comes with most of the basic things like a microwave oven, all these sort of things. So regarding accommodation, I don't think anybody needs to worry too much because it's quite good. And the access is also quite good. You have good the connectivity is good.
You can just walk in with your bags. It is that furnished. Like you get everything basic. Need
You
not
have Wi-Fi and AC and fridge.
everything. It's a fully furnished apartment and pretty comfortable, and everything is maintained by the Ashoka team. So you need not worry about these things at all.
And
Yeah, I
this
was just
covered in your HRA. So when you get your fellowship, you will get your fellowship plus HRA, and your accommodation will already be covered by the HRA. Did I miss something? Is there anything more?
Rahul, I think you were saying something.
I was just adding the point that we get a housekeeping service as well. Plus, we also have laundry services at Ashoka, both in the university, and there's common laundry place at every resident, like where we live in TDI Lake Grove, which you can use for your like weekend laundry. And yeah, so we get, and all of these are included in your HRA itself. You don't have to pay extra for this.
Yeah, the only
Someone,
thing we pay for is our electricity bills. Apart from that, everything
Yeah, right.
is covered
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
Ashoka.
electricity bill is like for the whole apartment divided by how
By
many
all the
occupants are
residents.
there.
someone is asking if it will be a single or a shared accommodation.
PhD is always a single. You will get your own single room. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the flat, the 3 BHK flat that Krishna Priya was explaining, in that the setup is like there is one room with attached washroom and for master bedroom, in which two masters or JRFs or non-PhD students will share that as a twin sharing with their own attached washroom. And the one washroom which is shared between the two single rooms is for the PhDs. So basically, you are sharing a washroom with another PhD, but you have your own separate room.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anything?
Other than that, I think regarding campus life, I think it's always good that there are UG students around, in the sense that you learn from them and they learn from you, sort of an environment, which I have enjoyed, especially during my TA-ship days. Other than that, because of the nature, it's a university. There'll be fests happening every other day. There'll be events, so it's always a pleasure to be a part of that. Other than that, let me just say we have a very good gym. The gym
The
facilities are
whole, yeah,
quite good.
the entire sports complex is really good.
That sports complex is quite good. Really. So I think that covers with the off academic activities.
Anyone else who wants to add in?
Honestly, whatever time you will get apart from your PhD, which if you can manage well, you get to do a lot at Ashoka. Like you get to do a lot more than you can do with the time you have at hand. So yeah, you'll never be like, I don't have anything to do, Ashoka. Like you don't
That's
have
true.
work, you can
There are people being actively involved
clubs.
in sports and joining teams, making their own teams, playing with the UGs. There are societies, there's dance society and other music and everything. They are all societies that PhDs can join, but if your schedule doesn't permit you, so then, but you also get a chance to be still be a part of it by joining their different sessions and like joining it for a smaller bits than committing the entire time throughout the year, because UGs are able to commit more time than PhDs. But there is an accommodation for that as well, and you get to experience this because it's a university. There's so many things happening, so some or the other workshop, some or the other event that you can also be a part of. So
Okay. I see questions. These are a bit technical. So I think there's one question. If a PhD student takes up more courses than his or her minimum requirement, is the GPA calculated based on all of the courses selected or just the minimum number of courses?
not all of the courses.
Apart from the TA ships, like those do not count as credits, but you get credit for all the courses that you have opted a credit course. You can also opt for an audit course where you can just go sit in, and you don't want it to be credited as
Yeah.
credits on your transcript. But if you take more because of your interests, then it will be included.
Yeah.
In fact, you can take more to improve your GPA if it comes to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
In fact, you can take more to improve your GPA if it comes to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, you can take more to improve your GPA if it comes to it.
Okay, thank you. The next question is TA-ship available from the time of joining or after fulfilling some other criteria? If it is not available from the time of joining, will this stipend vary?
No,
Yeah.
actually,
Actually, yeah,
please.
no, I think if the question is if the TA ships are paid, so your stipend stays the same. The only time it will vary is once you qualify your OQE, which is where you get registered, you get a hike in your stipend, which is at the moment it's 5K hike from what we get. So first, before you get registered, before you give your OQE, you actually get amount, and then after you qualify OQE, you get a SRF, which is like 5,000 more than your JRF. But TA ships are not paid, so it's a part of your requirements to get registered and also to get like the complete the degree. And of course, like when you enter for many TA ships, there are prerequisites that if you are, let's say, for example, if you are TAing for a course which is an advanced neuroscience, you need to first take that course or at least intro to neuroscience here at Ashoka, and then only you are eligible to take that course as a TA. So mostly, the first year we spend, at least the first semester you spend just taking courses, and then from the second semester onwards, you can TA at least for the courses that you took in first semester if they're being offered. But the same course then will be offered next year. So you have anyways to wait for like, so for first year, mostly you don't take a lot of TA ships, but second year you do take a lot of TA ships.
In general, during your first semester, it is encouraged that you work mostly on your coursework, and it's not encouraged that you do. I don't. It's only in very exceptional cases that you can do TA ships then. But other than that, after your first semester is done, you start taking up TA ships, depending on the availability of courses and.
Yeah, it also depends on the kind of course you're choosing to do a TA ship in. Like if it is like something where prerequisites are not too much, you don't need to take that course beforehand, it's generic, then maybe you can take it in your first year as well.
Or you've taken any related courses. Like there are courses which are related.
Right. Yeah.
So if you've taken some course related to the course being offered this semester, then you can TH for that.
All right. Rahul, I think you can answer the next question better. Is there any faculty working specifically on neurodegenerative disorders?
Not exactly on neurodegeneration. I think for as neuro labs, there are one is Dr. Krishna's lab where I'm working, and the lab is centered mostly around neuroscience of sleep, learning, memory, and behavior. But it's not like the labs are not themed as such in Ashoka is what I feel. So if you have projects in mind that you feel can align with what lab is doing, and you can start working on something, a question that can be addressed, then you can discuss it, right, to faculties and discuss it. But in general, neurodegeneration, people are not working on, at least like trying to find the molecular mechanism or something like that. The other lab is Professor Bittu's lab, which is behavior neuroethology based lab. They also look at a lot of behaviors, decision making, stuff like that. But yeah, but it's not like you can't do it. It's a no because in even in our lab, it also comes with what kind of if you have your own fellowship. So one PhD in our lab is trying to now delve into studying uh, uh, topics which relate directly to human diseases like epilepsy. But the idea has to come from you. You discuss it with the PI, and it's not like if you have not done it, the lab doesn't do it, they will not allow you to do it. If there's a possibility, I think PIs are very supportive in allowing you to at least explore it, or at least have a collaboration with someone else and work in collaboration. Like I do a lot of things in collaboration with other PIs in the institute and outside also, because in our lab we don't have expertise for everything like coding or like building stuff. So we also work with other uh, places in Ashoka. For example, Makerspace is one place that helps almost like every lab who wants to build something of their own, 3D print, coding, any kind of apparatus or arena or any machine you are building. They help you with that. Yeah. So there's a lot of scope for collaboration, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, thank you, Rahul. We'll just quickly take one last question since we're nearing our time. Is food cost covered by the HRA, and also is there any attendance system that the university follows for you guys? Let's just quickly answer that.
No, the food cost is not covered by the HRA. That's out of your.
Yeah.
I don't think
And
food cost is covered by HRA anywhere.
Yeah.
And because what do you want to eat? But Ashoka has a lot of when it comes to food, I think you will like that Ashoka has a lot of diversity in food. You don't have to just rely on mess food, because I'm sure everyone, I don't know how, but universally we don't like our mess foods. Though Ashoka's mess food is slightly better, but not on all days. Okay, that's fine. But you have a lot of other options also available, so you can just go and buy from anywhere and eat. So it's not covered in HRA.
And
Also,
Right.
you had with
Okay.
sort of diversity of people that Ashoka hosts as well. Like even in this panel, the people from different states. So I think at Ashoka, at least I could find things that could accommodate my taste.
Your
yeah,
appetite, yeah.
agree. Yes.
Yes.
And for the attendance, I think it's your PhD. It's up to you and your supervisor and how the lab works and how your things are planned and everything. I don't know any lab particularly who has an attendance policy per se, but then we have to
Actually,
get our work done.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is actually
Yeah,
very lab dependent,
lab specific.
but as a rule for PhD, I think you're allowed 30 paid leaves, but it's very much lab specific and the sort of work that you do. Because for
And
some
I
people,
don't
like,
think, yeah, I don't think we can take it at a stretch.
no,
It's
not.
divided throughout the year, those 30.
But at the end of the day, it's very lab specific.
Lab and your own
Yeah, so
project.
You and your supervisor.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think for all these nitty gritties of lab environment that we call our work environment, there also rotations help a lot. So because
Yes.
what we are always attracted to is the idea of the lab. The lab is working on so and so, and I'm so interested in the lab. But you also have to work there, right, for the next 5 years. So the best thing is you be there in that space, work there for like few weeks, and realize the way they work, what is expected out of you. Are you able to, is it fine with you? Will it work with you? Because those scenarios also will make a huge difference in your decision making. So yeah.
I don't think I can stress on this enough.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for such an insightful session and such a fun session talking about your journey and your experience. Before we wrap up this session, please note that the recording of this session will be available on Ashoka's YouTube channel in case you would like to share it with your friends. And to the audience, I would also like to inform our audience that registrations for the PhD program for the academic session 2025 to 2026 are open. And I would encourage students to apply soon before the application deadline, that is 20th of April 2025. For more information, you can write to us at phd.biology@ashoka.edu.in, or you can also reach out to our panelists here so that they can answer your questions in more detail apart from the webinar. This brings us to the end of this session. Everyone, please take care and stay safe. Thank you to our panelists for such a fun conversation, and see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kangna.
Thank you, Kangna.
Thank you all. Thank you.